What are the things that you are looking forward to for the sector in terms of production? We've got the good weather at the moment, in inverted commas, and the market access, the policy environment. What are the things that you'd be looking forward to? I mean, something that can sort of encourage the industry players, the farmers, even everyday individual on the street in terms of the sector.
Yeah, I think you have to segment that in two ways. Firstly, on a production basis, which is a much more near term, and also secondly, thinking about agricultural policy, which is something that is continuous and much more medium and long term. And if we begin by looking at the near term, I think we're holding a generally optimistic view onto that, at least until the end of January, beginning of November. That's where uncertainty crept in because of the tail end rainfalls that were linked to Cyclone Elouise, which has pretty much had brought heavy rains in central South Africa. But despite that, we still think that on a grain sector, it's a positive view. We saw, for example, the South Africa's Crop Estimates Committee lifting the area planted to summer grains as a whole by roughly 6% on a year-on-year basis to around about 4.2 million hectares. And if you were to look at that cluster of those crops and say, where is this uptick coming from? On maize, there's a 6% year-on-year increase in plantings to around about 2.8 million hectares. In soybeans, we have a record area planting just north of 800,000. Sorghum, there's an increase. Peanuts, there's an increase. The only crop that is seeing a decline is sunflower seeds. Now, looking at that expansion in area planting, favorable rainfall at the start of the season, which enabled plantings, that does speak to a relatively good crop in the country. The recent rains then at the end of January, beginning of February, might cause a bit of damage. We see puddles in certain areas. You talk to farmers in areas like Wesselsbron, Biltfontein, they are starting to really complain that there is waterlogging. Despite that, we still think that we'll have a maize crop of roughly 16 million tons, for example, which will be the second largest crop in the history of South Africa. Soybeans, the message from the eastern side of the country remains constructive, that we might have a good crop in there. We do think that north of 1.4 million tons of soybeans. So the picture is relatively positive. And I guess then, even if you look at the citrus sector, the picture there is also constructive. We thought that the heavy winds and the heavy rains were going to cause a damage in parts of Limpopo, KZN, but so far, with the information we have from the Citrus Growers Association, is that the damage has been somewhat minimal in those areas. And in the livestock, felts have improved. Grazing felt is great, and I think that overall, that bodes well for the sector. That's the picture in as far as production is concerned.